Alright, hey everyone, this is Mage Powers here, and today I'm going to show you how to use Warcraft strings for translating Warcraft 3 maps. So, I think there's a lot of people out there who want to get started translating maps, but don't really have an idea of how to do it, or think that you need to open it in World Editor and translate it there, but you really don't need to do all of that. Instead, you can use this program called Warcraft 3 strings, or Warcraft strings, and this website right here. This. If you read this, you would get a good idea of how to do it, but not everyone can learn everything just by reading. So I've decided to show how to do it instead of just telling people to read, because it's not always that easy. So first things first, what you need here, you're going to need MPQeditor, which I already have right here. This is MPQeditor. This is mostly, so yeah, you're going to need this. This allows you to actually look inside of Warcraft 3 maps. Like, for example, I could grab a map right here, X Hero Reborn. You can open it up, and MPQeditor, and there's a bunch of, you got all the files and stuff. And yeah, so this is mostly just to check if it's read only. Usually this sometimes can and cannot be a problem. It just varies between the different types of protections between maps. So usually the best thing to do is to ask the map author if for a map for translation, and usually you can send it back to them after you're done translating um to you can send it back to them so they can put on the protection again and whatnot, or you can put on protection yourself. Either one works pretty much. So that's MPQeditor. Alright, so now that you know about MPQeditor, which is mainly just used to check the map is read-only or not, now you want to make sure to go to this site, go to this GitHub repository, which I will link in the description of the video, and make sure to get Warcraft strings. So you click that, click download here. Now that's all fine and dandy. And now with this, you want to make a working directory which is where you will translate the map. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to make it here my D drive folder. You can, well, just call it whatever you want. What I'm gonna do here is make a directory that's for translating many different maps, not just a single map. But you don't have to do this. So I'm just gonna call it WC3TL. Let's do that. So put all your Warcraft string stuff in here, and the map that I'm going to attempt to translate is this Russian map called X Hero Reborn. So I'm going to purposely translate the old version and then show you how to transfer your translations to the new version. So let's get those downloaded. So now let's make a folder, X Hero Reborn RUS, and close that. And let's go to our downloads. Here they are. So let's put them in here. And I'm going to actually make even more folders to separate the different versions just for organization. Highly recommend that you do the same. So let's go ahead and do that. And before you start translating stuff, also make sure that you download your text editor. So what I use, Notepad++. This this editor is what I have right here. It's really good. It's very simple to use, and it'll make your translating a lot easier to look at. So now we have the two maps. So let's grab this X Hero Reborn 1.0a. So now we're going to start using Warcraft strings. So now you're going to go to the you need to open command prompt, which you can do by typing either cmd or Windows R, cmd. They both do the same thing. And now you're here. So in my case, I'm going to switch to this directory here. You can click on the little bar in your Windows Explorer to get the path to the folder easily. So now we're going to type cd for change directory, paste this in, and if you're switching to a different drive, you need to type that drive in. So in this case, we're going to do d:, and now we're in the directory. So with that, we can begin using Warcraft strings. So Warcraft strings is out here, and our map is in this folder. So what we're going to have to do is you start with a quotation mark and you type ... / for jumping up a directory, and we have to jump up 2 directories because we're jumping to here and then to here. That's where Warcraft strings is. So Warcraft strings.exe, that's what you have to type. Then we'll close off the quotation, and the first command that we're going to use is Warcraft strings A. What this does, this gives us the stuff in the map for us to actually translate. So if you're starting from scratch, all you have to do is do A, and then, so let's rename this so we have an easier time. So you can press tab to automatically fill a line. So we're just going to do that 3 times. And now we can just name the files whatever we want. Because after the 3 map file names, you can just, let's do XHR. So now you have the files. So you have TL files and you have SRC files. SRC files are the source strings for the map, so never edit these. Do not ever edit these. However, if you think you messed up in your translation, you can always look at the source file to get the original text so you can try to make any corrections. So, with that in mind, let's open up the items file, for example. And here it is, it's all in Russian. And if you can't see the text here, like if it's a bunch of random symbols or whatever, make sure use your Notepad++. You click on encoding up here, you click on UTF-8. Yours will probably default to being ANSI, but you want to be on UTF-8 because this is Unicode. This is stuff that allows you to see other languages. And with that in mind, you can begin translating once you have these files. So if you're going to do Russian, you're probably going to use something like Yandex Translate. If I was doing Korean, I would use Papago Naver. Of course, Google Translate is always there too. Google Translate here. It's also good. So generally, a specialized translator is going to be better than Google Translate for translating sentences, and generally Google Translate is pretty good at translating single phrases and single words. That is something to keep in mind. So with that, we can begin translating, and I'm gonna just do it right here, and I'll speed the video up just so you can see kind of what exactly I'm doing. Alright, so that was just a slight translation session. I'm not going to fully translate the map right now because this is just an example. So now that we have that done, there is one more part of the map that you need to pay attention to, and that would be this Warcraft strings E. Now what this does, it takes all of the strings from the script and from the strings, so basically just all the text from the actual code in the map, and with that we're going to just press up arrow here on our command line to go back to the last thing that we input. Now we Warcraft strings E, and you only need to put one map file, and so you have Warcraft strings E, map name, and then the name of your files. So let's do that. Boom, now you have two things, script and strings. So let's go ahead and open those. So here's the script, and here are the strings. So with that, so actually they want to release the English version already, interestingly enough. Anyway, so this is the stuff that you would see in the quest log. This is the stuff that like pops up on your screen. If you've played X-Hero Siege before, then it's like, for example, it tells you when a wave is coming. Is the text for timers, everything, anything like that. So now all of that is in here, and what's special about these files is you do not want to touch stuff that is inside of the bracket. You cannot edit these. So what this means is you can't use replace all, and you can't touch these because the program needs to use the text inside here to refer back to actually translate it. Because without this, there is no connection between your translated string and the original string. So make sure to never touch this. So, you know, for example, right here, so it would be just like this. So Russian on left side, English on left side, or no, other way around. Russian on left side, English on right side. So it's going to be like this for every single one. So you have to be diligent and make sure to not touch anything in the bracket. So you have here, it is time to move on to what you do after you're done translating. After you're done translating both the script and strings and your units, abilities, etc., it's time to use Warcraft Strings X. And this will import back all of your strings into the map. So what you want to do is you want to make a copy of the original map so you have the original map because you're going to need it later. So let's just rename this to, let's just add eng at the end. So the commands to import your translated strings is Warcraft Strings X and Warcraft Strings J. J being for the script and strings, Warcraft Strings X being for everything else. So do X. Let's just make sure you're selecting the English, the map you want to be English, and make sure you use the right name from your files, XHR, which is what mine are. And there you go. Everything's been put in. So one thing to take note of is if you messed up any of the Lua formatting, it will let you know that there's an error in here. Generally there will be something that pops up if something went wrong, but if nothing pops up there, then you're good to go. And now let's do the same with our script and strings. So Warcraft Strings J, English map, XHR, loaded all the stuff. There you go. Now it's time to test if everything went smoothly. So you can do that. Go to your Warcraft 3 and your maps. I'm gonna put it in here, TL test. And I do already have Warcraft 3 open. So let's test it out. Then we got this stuff here. So we didn't translate any of this, so it's not a big deal. But you can check here, see if I can find something that I actually did translate. Ah. Okay. So yeah, you can see that it definitely did work here. Just I didn't translate the recipe item, I translated the actual item, but you can see that it is English, so you can tell that your translations worked properly. So let's just do this. Yep, so there's all that.
under attack. Time is fleeting. I'll consume the living and the dead. I'll see to it.
There you go. That is an example of a translated map. So, now that you've completed translating a map, and now let's say that a new version of the map comes out and you need to transfer over the translations. The good thing about Warcraft strings is that it allows you to very easily transfer over translations without having to retranslate everything like you would have to if, for example, you did everything purely in the world editor. And to do that, we're going to need to get the new map, which I already have here. Let's rename it for convenience sake. And now we're going to have to switch to its directory. So that's cd, copy paste the path. And of course, we're going to use Warcraft strings A again, but this time we're going to use it a little differently. So how this works is Warcraft strings A, you want to transfer translations, you're going to do Warcraft strings A, old, untranslated version, translated old version, and new translated version. And you have to make sure that this is also the same as your old. You have to make sure that this here, your name for the files, is consistent as well. So to do that, we are going to do up a directory 1.0. So this is the old map 1.0 and English version, Russian version, and now the newest Russian version, and XHR. Oh, don't forget the A over here. So yeah, Warcraft strings A, old version, old English, new version. And now we have all this again. So if you look in the items now, you'll see that your translations have been preserved. Everything you did is going to be preserved. And to transfer over script and strings, it's going to be a little different. You're going to have to copy and then paste your previous script and strings file, and you're going to have to it's a little more simple to update these. You can just do Warcraft strings U for update. It's over here in the manual. And let's do tab and XHR. And there you go. That should update these two files. One thing to note is doing this will make your script and strings become in alphabetical order instead of in the order of where they are in the script, in the code itself, but it's not really anything to worry about. It doesn't affect anything. So with that in mind, that's how you get updated versions of your translations. And the last thing you need to do is you need to check for any changes made in between versions, if there were any. So to do that, we're going to use, let's open up the manual again. So to do that, we're going to have to use Wcstrings C. Right here, Wcstrings C. So we can do that right here. Wcstrings C. So old Russian version, and then new Russian version, just like that. And now we're just going to generate a text file. So I'm just going to do greater than sign, and let's just name it changes.txt. And there you are. Here are the changes. Here's everything. So there are a few things that you should look for when you're looking at changes. So usually for units, UNAM is probably the only one that's going to be important. Yeah, UNAM is probably the most important one to look out for. All the other stuff, it doesn't really matter. Oh. Because UNAM is the unit's name. Okay, never mind. So, and of course, always look for new stuff that's added. You have to translate those. Unless it's a dummy, which I usually don't bother translating the name of dummy units because there's not much point. And when you're doing abilities, the important thing to look out for would be ATP, which means the ability tooltip, AUB, the abilities Uber tip, which is what you see when the ability is actually on your hero, ATP being what the ability is showing when you're learning the ability on a hero, or it might be the other way around, I'm not 100% sure. And of course, if it appears ANAM, ability name. So the mark function is very useful for this in Notepad++, as you can see. Anything that doesn't have AUB, ATP, or ANAM isn't marked. This is all new stuff. So UNAM is also for items as well. So UNAM, UTP, these are important for items. I usually don't bother translating buffs, but FTIP would be what you're looking for probably. And for research, GUB. So these are stuff that you gotta look out for when you're updating your translations. And once all the new stuff is settled, what you can do is So let's say, for example, I gonna translate these new items that were added. So let's say you just translate all this stuff, yada yada, and yeah, after that, you just do the same things that you did when you just do the same thing you did the first time around when you first translated a map, which is Warcraft strings X and Warcraft strings J, and that would be everything. I hope that this tutorial is useful for you guys, and if you ever have any questions about translating, you can contact me on Discord. You can just leave a comment on the video or uh anything, yeah, any kind of place that you can contact me. I'll try to answer you as best as I can. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.